thinking about that project that we did at the end of the year, and you can be completely honest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So thinking about that project, did you enjoy the project? Did you not enjoy the project? What do you think went well? What do you think could have been better?
I kind of think I actually kind of did like the project because I do like partner work.
Yeah.
And also it was kind of fun just going onto the computer and kind of searching up this kind of information.
I liked that we got to choose our own topic, not just get a topic that we're not really sure about. I liked that we had to do like tweets and stuff, make posters, write a poem or a story.
And so what did you like about being able to do all those different things? Like, why did you like that?
Gave you many options, so not just one thing, like, oh, you just have to do a video about it.
Then.
It was that we had to work in groups, like, and we had to like create little things to support our what's it called?
Your issue?
Yeah, our issue.
And so why did you like being able to do that, create those things?
Because we actually posted the little thing that we created. The poster, we posted it in a Walmart.
Okay.
We put it in Walmart. I don't know, it was just fun to me. Because I went to the store and told the manager if I can post a poster in Walmart, and they just said yeah.
And so what, you didn't expect somebody to actually like hang up something that you created?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that. So like we could choose what like called us, like spoke to us. We chose immigration because we talked about other topics, but me and Jose, like, we had, background information with immigration. We had gone through or almost gone through the struggle of like deportation and like because our parents are immigrants and stuff like that. And so we chose that because like we had that background information, and we thought that since we had that background information, it would have made like the topic more sensitive to us, and then by it being more sensitive to us, we could have made it more sensitive to the people that we were sharing it out with.
Yeah. So planning a unit with ISSN in mind can seem super daunting and overwhelming. However, something that I learned is that that's not necessarily true, which is probably why I was voluntold to make this video. So last year, I was able to go to the ISSN training, and part of that training, I was given the opportunity to go observe at DCIS Baker, which is one of the ISSN schools here in Denver. And when I returned, I was super inspired, I was super impressed with things that I had seen, and I immediately wanted to apply some of that learning to my own classroom and to my own curriculum. The only problem is we returned with about 2 weeks left of third quarter. So fourth quarter was gonna be starting soon, and I had already had my units for fourth quarter planned. It was done, we had planned them, I was excited about them. And so I had this moment that I thought, okay, do I really want to start from scratch and plan from the ground up a whole new unit? And I realized that I didn't need to. So what I did instead was I modified one of the units that I had already had planned. So I just thought about the 2 units that I had already had planned, and I thought about which one I felt would be easiest to modify to have that global connection. And so obviously ISSN is all about global leadership and building the capacity of global leaders. And so I had to think about where could I see that maybe already ingrained in one of my units. And so the unit that I chose was this unit where the students are in lit circles and we read a variety of memoirs. And the theme around all the memoirs is kind of survival and how these characters have lived through and survived through these major atrocities like genocides and war and all sorts of crazy. So once I chose my unit, I knew that survival wasn't really like a global issue. I mean, it is, but like I needed to think of like a more specific global issue. And that was difficult because I'm not really knowledgeable about current events. So I actually went and used the ISSN's Ning. So it's issnny.ning.com, and it's a huge resource with so much stuff that could be overwhelming in itself. But one of the places that I found that was really helpful is under the resources section is they have this link to global issues. And it lists all of these different global issues that you could be focusing on in your classroom. And the great thing for me is it also gave you like a synopsis about it. So it tells you about the issue, it tells you why it's an issue, what's the current dialogue and different perspectives about it. It gives links to like different articles and things. So I was like, this is amazing, this is great. And so through that, I was able to find that the one global issue that I felt like really aligned already with what I had planned for this unit was human rights. And so I chose that as my global issue. And then I started thinking about, okay, well, how am I going to modify my unit that I already had planned to have this more focused lens on human rights? And so I looked at the supplementary text that I was already planning for, some of my materials and activities, and I just supplemented some of them to have a more human rights lens. From there, I started thinking about my summative assessment. Previously, when we did this survival unit, before, I like always ending my fourth quarter with like a multi-genre. And so the kids were going to write a multi-genre piece. So a variety of pieces, all in different genres that all had the same theme of survival. And so now that I was more doing like human rights, I was like, what could this look like? So again, I went to the NING, and under the resources section, they have a list of performance assessment shells. And so these performance assessment shells are performance-based assessments that you can use in the classroom, so just ideas. And looking through that, I found that they actually had something that aligned really well with my idea that I already had, which was a multi-genre project, is they had like a campaign. So I felt like having some type of like campaign seemed to really connect with this human rights idea, and it went well with what I already had in mind, which was a multi-genre summative assessment. And so I started thinking about what that could look like, and that kind of brought me into that last thing that I needed to think about when planning for ISSN, which is SAGE. So SAGE stands for Student Choice, Authentic Work, Global Significance, and Exhibition to a Real-World Audience. So I knew that my global significance, I knew that I kind of had that. I chose a global issue. I had already thought about some supplementary text I was bringing in that was going to show like different perspectives about the human rights issues. I knew that I was going to have my kids investigate and choose one on their own to maybe make this campaign for their summative assessment. And throughout that, they have so much choice, right? So I'm seeing that they have choice in their books, and they have choice in some of the texts and activities that they do. The last part was that authentic work and the exhibition to a real world audience. And I really thought that those aligned nicely when thinking about my summative assessment, that campaign. And so I thought about, I could make the campaign a multi-genre. So I can make it that they have to do a multi-genre campaign on a human rights issue of their choice. And what I decided to do was I started to think, okay, well, how can I make it authentic, and how can I make it really real world? And I thought about, okay, if my kids were actually doing a campaign, what kind of work would that look like? And honestly, the work that they would do is probably going to post on Twitter and on Facebook and using Instagram and using YouTube, because those are the things that's authentically what this generation does when trying to make a difference and have their voice heard. So that's what I did. So their multi-genre piece campaign was that they chose a human rights issue, and then they had to create a multi-genre, multimedia campaign to raise awareness about that issue. And so they had to compose tweets and send them out. They had to compose Facebook posts and Instagrams. They made digital public service announcements. They made video public service announcements that they could upload to YouTube. And they also had to do some academic writing. So they also had to write things like expository pieces that could be published in a newspaper. They had to write a letter to a public official. And so I got this great balance of authentic work and also work that could be shared to a real world audience online. And then from there, I was done.